moment, please. There we are. All right. Now we can watch this play. Now, there's 1.1 seconds left. You already know what's going to happen. But down 3, I mean, this is just a window into what it's like.
Reed gets it to Towns, lets it fly from deep. Oh,
you know it's going to be Cash.
Oh,
you absolutely know it's going to be Cash. We watch it again.
Reed gets it to Towns.
First of all, go back. There are... This is too open as it is. But everyone's looking at these two guys. I don't know why he's even here. I don't know what this play is. It's terrible. Why are you there? They're going to guard the inbound. You have nothing. You could just cut to the hoop, but it won't do anything because you're down 3. So I don't understand this. He should be here probably. But I guess that brings the backside defender in, even though he's here anyway. The backside defender isn't guarding the rim at all. So you know the pass is going up here. They go extra deep to Towns, who pushes in the back to get off here, but that's never going to get called.
Reed gets it.
Grabs it. Triple teamed from the logo.
Towns lets it fly from
Bank
deep.
it home. Bank it home. Yikes. That sends the game to OT. Thankfully, the Grizzlies dominate in overtime, but I was so disillusioned. I thought there was no chance I was going to win. And at that time, we had the Grizzlies parlayed with the Steelers last night against the Bears. And the Steelers were dominating at that point. So I'm like, of course, the Steelers are going to win easy, roll through, and the Grizzlies are going to screw me with this late second shot. I mean, it's actually incredible that the Grizzlies win this game because Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, and D'Angelo Russell, who are the only good players on this team, actually all played really well. So I thought I was dead, but Ja just wouldn't have it. He went for 33 and 8, and he just looked great. Brandon Clark had a huge rebound towards the end, had a good overtime. They pull it out. Okay, so that's one thing. One leg down, and it wasn't easy. Let's talk about this football game. There's a few things to talk about, but the truth is we're going to get to the Cassius Marsh stuff quickly because I have a lot of thoughts, and that's the real story, let's be honest. Steelers controlled this whole game until the fourth quarter when they tried to blow it because they're the Steelers and they're not really actually good. It's weird because they didn't run the ball well against Chicago, who are down a bunch of defensive players. They turned it over a couple times. One fumble lost, but almost a second disaster one. Big Ben didn't turn it over at all. You figure they roll here, but they just didn't run it well. And the Bears did run it pretty well. And I gotta say, Justin Fields is looking better and better, but we'll get to this. I know he's not winning games, but he's impressive at times. More so than the first few weeks. So, there's a defensive touchdown here. So this is where the game gets wild, right? 23-13. This is about probably the time where Karl Anthony Towns is hitting a miracle, and I'm just cursing at this guy, wondering how I'm going to admit to you guys how badly I just got beat today. Bears fumble. Pitt recovers on the Chicago 42. The game should be over. It's the fourth quarter. You're up 10. You have the ball in their territory, and they just fumbled. It's like, all right, we're giving you the game. They punt quick. Then it's a 4th and 7. And I wish I had the play because it was weird. But they return a fumble for a touchdown. You're like, oh, God, here we go. Minnesota had already lost at this point in the overtime. Memphis wins, so I hit the first leg, and now I just need Pittsburgh to win, and this fumble return touchdown happens, and I'm like, how long is this going to have to drag out? I mean, what else can happen? And Claypool gets hurt. I mean, that's a big yikes for them. Just everything seemed to be going wrong in the fourth quarter, and I'm like, am I really going to survive that Karl Anthony Towns bomb and then lose because the Steelers couldn't hold a huge lead against a team that hadn't scored a touchdown through 3 quarters. Okay, so here we are. They get it here. They kick a field goal.
40.
There was a play where I don't know if they'll have it here. Probably not, because we're already at the taunting play here. But it was an incomplete, so it must have been this play. I guess it was the play right before the taunting penalty. And Ben tries to... So there's a defensive touchdown on the right before this. Then they get the ball back. And Ben does his pump fake shit, but it slips out of his hands, flies away. It looks like a fumble. The Bears return it all the way for a touchdown. That has happened at least 2 times this year. I think 3, where he's done the hard pump fake and the ball just flies out. And every time the announcers go, well, we've seen Ben do that a ton over the years. I don't know who announces like that, but it sounds that way in my head. He hasn't done that. Not in a while. He's 40 now and bad, and his strength in his arm isn't as strong. He had Tommy John surgery. It's not going to work every time anymore. His hands are still big. He can still pump fake, don't get me wrong, but let's not be shocked when a bad quarterback does a dumb thing. I know he's a Hall of Famer and all. I'm not a fan, but he's not good anymore. He's looked better in the past few weeks, and this team, I guess, has to be taken seriously at 5-3. I don't understand, but in any case, when he keeps messing up the pump fake and fumbling it, stop being so surprised. It wasn't the first time it happened this season. Okay, so he gets away with that. Then we got the play, right? We get the play where Cassius Marsh sacks him. And then the taunting penalty, and I want to talk about a couple different things around it. First of all, Cassius Marsh not only is in the NFL and was on the Steelers and got cut by the Steelers before, not that long ago, before this game, obviously. He signs to the Bears. He's on the practice squad first and gets brought up for this game to face the Steelers. So this is big time for Cassius Marsh. It's a big moment. And he comes through in that big moment. Not only is he a football player, though, he's been on a couple podcasts I really like. He was on Two Bears, One Cave with Tom Segura when Bert Kreischer was off on that. If you're a fan of that podcast, I recommend it. It was a fun one. And literally yesterday, an episode dropped of my favorite podcast, Take Your Shoes Off, with Rick Glassman, hilarious comedian. Rick Glassman has Cassius Marsh on the podcast because he owns a trading card company. It's called Cash Cards Unlimited, I believe. And that was such a weird... This is all just too weird. I was watching the podcast before this game starts. I wonder if he's even going to play. They say he's playing. He's in the game. It's the 4th quarter. His team's trying to come back. He nails this big sack. He doesn't play very much. He's a fringe NFL player between practice. No disrespect at all. It's just I'm trying to build to how big this moment is for him, right? And so let's just roll this to see how it looked.
Taken down.
That's the celebration.
Cat taken down.
That's it. That's the celebration.
Cat taken down.
Also, sick kick. Nice move. Put that guy in the UFC. So, what's wrong with this? No one's there. It's no different than any celebration. So if this is what it is, then I don't know what's going on. Okay? So then on to the next. This is what he does right after the kick.
At the conclusion of the play, taunting, defense number 59.
You'll see the
15-yard penalty will create a first down.
Oh, that's Marsh.
Finally gets to him. Boom. Then the kick. Then this is it. This
Marsh
is what he does.
makes the play again, just elevated.
All he did. Look, I'll play the rest of it. And then he looks back to see what the play is. And he's getting screamed at by his coach, which is nonsense. Who knows if it's good or bad? I don't know, but it looks not good. All he did was stare. Is that what it is? So we're all confused. Neither thing makes sense, right? This is not why they put the taunting penalties in. First of all, there should be some level of context. He just came from this team. He got cut by them. He just made the biggest sack of his career without question. Big play, fourth quarter, meaningful game for both teams against a legendary quarterback who's going to the Hall of Fame, maybe a top 10 quarterback of all time. I don't know. He makes this play. He's getting his... He didn't even do anything. He just stared in their direction. That is the least. It's cool, but it's the least he could have done. He could have talked so much smack. Okay, so here we are hating what's happening about this flag. It's ruining the game. This is on third down. This is third and... Where is it? Here. 3rd and 8 at the 47. This is to force a punt. It's a 7-yard sack. It'll be 4th and 15. They're punting to give the Bears back the ball in a 6-point game. Or a 3-point game, because the field goal didn't happen until after this. And the field goal shouldn't have happened at all. So it's a 3-point game. Nonsense call already. And then they go on, the drive extends 15 yards, first down. And they kick the field goal to go up 6, which is huge because now you need a touchdown, right? So, okay. What happened after doesn't matter. Let's stay on this for a second. I wake up today. We'll go on with the rest of the game. I wake up today. I didn't see this post-game press conference, but here's what happens. Here's what I saw first, and then I didn't see the play yet.
The one thing that I will say is,
Let me pause the music for this.
on my way to the sideline, I got hip checked by the ref, and it's pretty clear. If I were to do that to a ref or even touch the ref, we get kicked out of the game and possibly suspended and fined. So I just think that was incredibly inappropriate, and that's all I'll say about that.
First of all, this dude's awesome. Go check him out on those 2 podcasts and go check out Cash Cards Unlimited. I think it's so cool that he's an NFL player that has another passion and another business and another job that he's pouring energy and passion into. Both things. How do you have 2 things that you love that much? It's awesome. This guy rocks. He makes a huge play. This is the dream. This is the actual dream. Everyone knows that anyone who's not a superstar from birth knows that even if you made a professional league, which is nonsense to even think about, that you can only hope to eventually play a game and make one big play and have your moment, right? This is his moment. He has the intelligence to not just rip apart the call, but to give them something actually wrong that happened. The call is wrong, no doubt about that. But if he rips apart the refs, it's not going to get changed and he's just going to get fined and suspended. This piques my curiosity. So we go and find the play. Here's the play. Here's him right after what we just watched, him running off the field to go get yelled at by his coach, right? He was just staring at the bench. He's staring at the Steelers bench in this direction, down here. And he turns around to run back. And this is what the ref does.
Was directing.
Here, watch this again.
No, he's already reaching.
What? First of all, he barely has the flag out. It almost looks like he didn't decide to throw the flag until now. And on top of the flag, I'm going to bump you.
Was directing.
Here, watch this again.
No, he's already
Bump him.
reaching.
And then
Was
throw the flag
directing.
on
Here,
him.
watch this again.
What? Why? Just move out of the way. He clearly
Yeah.
leans in. What is this? What is this about? The NFL needs to talk to this ref and publicly say what happened here, because everything Cassius Marsh just said that we watched here is factual. He got hip checked. We watched it. If I were to do that to a ref or even touch the ref, we would be kicked out of the game, possibly suspended. Correct. And to me, it shows premeditated issues with a single player on the field, which is already insane if you're a referee. You're supposed to be the least biased person around. So that's nuts. and then you physically contact him for no reason at all. Now, I'm not going to cry about it. He's an NFL player. He's fine. But it is a double standard that's ridiculous, and he pointed it out. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, well, if he's willing to bump this guy and throw a flag on the same play, and the flag was questionable to begin with, you have to just throw into question every single thing that this ref has done, not only throughout this game, but through everything. And then, on top of this, let's look back at the box score. And I don't know how the penalties went. Yeah, they back up exactly what I'm thinking here. 12 penalties for 115 yards. 5 penalties for 30 yards for the Steelers. Now, look, I didn't go through all the penalties visually. Maybe I should. I haven't yet. Some of them happened. In fact, I think I took a note here. Phantom 15-yard taunting call. Justin Fields marches down the field anyway for a touchdown. We'll talk about that in a second. And then on the last drive, Robert Quinn gets another offsides call. It was his third of the game. 3 offsides on Robert Quinn. They just lined up offsides a bunch of times. The Bears' penalties were wild in this game. Don't get me wrong. But it was both. It was bad play and bad reffing. And that's hard to overcome. This is a free 85 yards. That's a whole field. That's a touchdown drive. And it's a 2-point game. Let's say they did half of these themselves, and half of them were up for debate. It's a 50-yard difference. That's a field goal difference. That changes the whole game. I'm not saying that he had premeditated reason to hand the Steelers the game and call everything on the Bears, but I am saying that there is definitive evidence that he at least did it once. And if that's the case, I don't know, why does it become different on any other plays? You really have to look back at this guy. He should definitely be suspended, not only for the bumping thing. It has to be both. It's both things because they're connected to me. Because if you're willing, your intent is to bump this guy and send him a message. I don't know why else you would bump him. Then your intent also easily could have been to rob his team of the game. And you can't make too big a deal of this. This is reffing I've always thought has been pretty awful. I have issues with replay. I have issues with the referees themselves. I have issues with the rules and the refs being asked to uphold rules that make no sense. I get it. It's difficult. But this really was the most obvious changing a game ever. And this is from someone who bet the Steelers and needed the Steelers to win the game. So all this happens. We still got to play the rest of the game. I mean, we didn't know all of it until later. So let's just move on with it, I guess. So we're here. They kick the field goal to go up 6. And Fields does march right down the field and scores a touchdown. And you're like, okay, well, thank God. It didn't matter. He went and scored. Whew. Ref's off the hook. Couple things. Justin Fields has looked much, much better. I don't know what his box score looks like, but this drive was nice. He looked poised. 17 for 29 is good. A lot of yardage. Yeah, he turned it over. He ran it for 50 yards. He can move with his legs. He's looking better. And this Steelers D is really good. So this was a positive for the Bears and for Fields. I know it doesn't seem like one, and they have a lot of issues to be taken up, but still. So they get down the field for the field goal. They score. There's obviously too much time left, but you scored a 16-yard touchdown. You're not going to complain about it, right? Kick's good. Ben gets the ball. Where's the other false start? Penalty here. Defensive offsides. Another defensive offsides on consecutive plays. Someone made a makeup call here on a false start. This tight end had a big day. Freiermuth. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. I don't know why they spiked here. I couldn't quite figure that one out because you don't want to score and give Chicago the ball back. I thought they should have just run a play Because then after that, Big Ben sneaks for 1 yard. Then the Bears call timeout, and the Steelers kick to take the lead. What? Why did you spike if you're going to QB sneak on the next play? You don't have a play ready? You're on the 24. You're already in field goal range. You can run the ball. Why are you stopping the clock? The clock's your friend. You don't need the touchdown here. You just get the field goal with 1 second left and win the game and put this all away. They didn't. They did give the Bears the ball back. Fields looks good again and gets it all the way to the 47. They kick a 65-yarder. It's no good. The announcers thought it hit the crossbar. It was like 15 yards short. I don't know. But this whole end of the game was so wild, especially when you remember that I had the Steelers in the second leg of the Mush Picks parlay, and we hit it. I don't know how any of this last night happened between the Towns thing and the Grizzlies winning and this penalty thing and the Steelers trying to blow it hard, but winning anyway. We win. We win. Point of it is Cassius Marsh is cool. Cash cards unlimited seems like a cool business. That's the kind of guy that I would want to be if I was a pro athlete, to have a passion in another thing and be able to share those passions. It's the kind of person I want to be in general. Just to be able to have multiple passions and sink time successfully into each one of them. And to be screwed like this on such a grand stage, I hope there is an outpouring of support from fans for him. Because this is nonsense, and there needs to be a response from the NFL. There has to be. If they just go radio silent and let this one move on, it's just every week. It's like, I don't know if any of this matters. It's just, you watch the whole rest of the game and you're like, yeah, but. And the Steelers were better, but the Bears got absolutely robbed, and I would have got ejected if I were the coach. They should be firing their coach soon enough anyway, but it's just disappointing, man. I mean, they already should have come to their aid. There should have been a statement made right after the game. They'll investigate and give them a 2-minute report that says we made a mistake, and that's the end of it. It's just so bad. But anyway, the roller coaster leads to a victory for us. Woo! Let's move on to a couple other stories. Today's stream might be on the shorter end. Not a huge day. And admittedly, UConn basketball starts tonight. College basketball in general. We'll get to that at the end. But big UConn fan. 6:30 p.m. Eastern. If you're watching this afterwards on YouTube or on the VOD on Twitch, I hope they covered the 30-point spread or whatever it is, but they probably didn't, because they're notorious for being tied at halftime and then pulling away in the second half. So, go Huskies. Either way. Raiders cut their first-round pick after video with death threats in it. I mean, what else can happen to the Vegas Raiders? It's the biggest meme. They were so good to start the year, and they have just fallen apart. I know he was on the IR, but he was already facing lawsuits from a car accident last October. Mike Mayock has to look at this 2020 draft class. Ruggs early. Here goes your first-round pick. Both of them gone from the team already. It's been 6 months or whatever. Yikes. They have a bunch of guys that can't make the roster, can't make their starting lineup. They drafted Brian Edwards, who I don't think he had a catch in this game. And he was in that 2020 draft, right? Yeah, 3rd-round pick. And he was starting in the Ruggs spot, and people were like, I picked him up in fantasy. I thought it was savvy. He actually looks okay. And he had 4 targets and 0 catches. So that's your 2020 draft class in a nutshell. Mike Mayock has to get fired. It's tough because the team is playing well. And none of this is really his fault, but I think when he was tied to Gruden, it's not because of this. It's just he was tied to Gruden. They need a brand new everything. They're going to be paying Gruden maybe forever unless they can get that expunged. Who cares if you owe Mike Mayock money? Hire a different GM who can hire a new coach. Start this process over, because this is a disaster. Jesus. I also want to quickly talk about, I don't know if I brought anything up about it, but Aaron Rodgers under fire still for the vaccine stuff. And now Odell Beckham wants to go there. We could look that up. I don't know how close of a report that is to being true, but it seems that's his destination, and he did clear waivers. Fox News reporting? I mean, Jesus. Yeah. Odell has been freed officially. So he's officially a free agent right now. That happened at 4 p.m. We knew he would clear waivers because when a player threatens that he won't play for your team if you claim him, you're not going to claim him and pay him, which is a really scary precedent, and there's nothing you can do to turn that around as far as I know. So are waivers pointless now? Or is there a point of even having the process? I don't know. Anyone can just choose where they want to play, so I don't know if it matters if you're good enough. And even if you're not good enough, I mean, he's had no impact this year. So he wants to go to the Packers. Makes sense. They have a glaring wide receiver 2 hole. Did the Aaron Rodgers stuff actually have a bad impact on some people's view of him? Or did it have a positive impact on players who you can understand if you're in the NFL and you're scared about the league wanting so much control over you? Not just the vaccine thing, just you must feel treated as an asset very often, a number. And of course they make a lot of money, but that's not really the point. The NFL definitely treats the players like garbage most of the time. They don't have health care, all the concussion shit. They don't care. They just treat them as pawns in their bigger game, if you ask me. And so if you're a player and you feel that way about the NFL wanting too much control over you, and Aaron Rodgers stands up and says that I'm not going to, I deserve some level of control over this thing. He went on the Pat McAfee show. He talked all about it. I don't need to rehash it. But he's preaching for some kind of autonomy over his body and control over his life, which the NFL wants to take away for better or worse. I'm not saying they don't need the vaccines. I'm not saying it, I'm vaccinated. I think you should get it. But none of that is the point. It's more about how the players can perceive that move from just a player in the league perspective when you are frustrated with how the NFL controls you. And I get it. So maybe players like this from Aaron Rodgers a little more than the public does. And Odell, not only does he want to play with Aaron Rodgers and sees a wide receiver 2 hole in Green Bay and knows he can get playing time and play a meaningful role on a playoff team who has Super Bowl aspirations, but maybe in the locker room that is the entire NFL, people like what Rodgers has done here and want to play with him. Maybe. He has wars with the media, but so do a lot of players. Maybe the players don't. Maybe the players like that he's willing to do that. It's just a theory. Who knows? He's questionable this week, which isn't great for the Packers. So we'll see if Odell goes there. We'll see if Rodgers plays. If they play Love, they probably get killed because he looked awful. Maybe he bounces back. I don't know. Also, Joe Rogan, who is a controversial source, I enjoy his podcast sometimes, shared in his episode with Theo Von, who's hilarious, that Rodgers may actually be allergic to something in the vaccine. Who knows if that's real? But Rodgers did say he went to Rogan for medical advice. So that conversation happened. I don't know why Joe Rogan would lie to a great many people that listen to his podcast, including people that then talk about his podcast on other podcasts. So it spreads to everybody. I don't see why he would lie about it. So if Rodgers is allergic to something in the vaccine, he can't get the vaccine. They say that on the CDC website, and it's obvious. So brings about a lot more questions. If this is true, which who knows, but if it's true, does it make a little more sense that he kept saying he's immunized and not vaccinated? Do these controversial takes become a little more reasonable? And why didn't he just say that? Again, maybe he's frustrated that the NFL is prying too much and he doesn't need to share this with people. He shouldn't have to. He followed all the rules, etc., etc. That's what he kept saying. So, who knows? Who knows what's real and what's not? But if that's true, it's an avenue to all of this making a little more sense. And it's yet another lesson of don't just stamp your opinion immediately when you hear a thing. Let the whole story develop a little bit first. Sometimes that's better, sometimes it's worse, but in the end, you want all the information. So we'll see if any of that comes out. I don't know. Nick Chubb also tested positive for COVID, apparently, right before I went live, I think. So he's going to be out. That hurts the Browns, but they were starting to roll. I don't know what to say about that. We'll talk about it more when we break down the games this week. Thursday we have Baltimore, Miami. That's going to be an ugly one, but we'll break it down Thursday and Friday. So yeah, hurts the Browns. If you watched the stream yesterday or caught the YouTube video, you will know that I went to the Knicks game on Sunday, and Kemba Walker didn't play, and he's my favorite player ever. We both went to UConn, blah, blah, blah. He rested for a back-to-back. And then he plays yesterday. The Knicks are dominating. They start blowing it against the Sixers, who have nobody. And in the fourth quarter, with 2 minutes left,
His career high is 29.
what ends up happening? He's involved in a lot of these plays, whether they show in the box score or not. And I know he didn't have a great game, and he struggled a little bit overall, but he's been clutch for them when they need it. And it's... I'm in the first quarter. Duh. They're up 6, but they were, to give context, they were up 20. And then, so they're up 6 here. Seth Curry takes a 3, which looked good. This would have brought it to 3. RJ gets the rebound. Kemba comes down and hits a floater, which makes it 8. You start to breathe. And 1. It makes it 9. He pretty much put the game away. And he made an assist on this play right before it. So we're actually... Oh, and he assisted this one, too. He started dominating the game, honestly. He really did. So let's go further back. We're down... Niang makes the 3 from Curry. It's a 1-point game. Knicks timeout. Kemba comes in. Randall gets a driving layup. Kemba gave him the ball, didn't get an assist because it was a Randall ISO, but still, he was involved. You're up 3. Missed 3. Fournier rebound. Randall goes in on a Kemba assist on a pick and roll. So Kemba's already fresh, jumpy, moving. They're up 6. They were just up 1. Finally, we breathe. It's the Knicks. We can blow these against nobody. No Simmons, no Harris, no Embiid, no problem. They could still almost beat the full-strength Knicks. Nerlens Noel got hurt. Mitchell Robinson didn't play, but, yeah, you know. I never turned the music back on. Kemba scores the floater and 1. Think he gets another assist in here somewhere. He just dominates the game. They win. And I'm just like, I'm watching like, really? Really? I go to the game, he doesn't play, they get killed by the Cavs, and Ricky Rubio drops 37. The next night he goes to Philly, he wins the game for them. I mean, come on. Come on. Unlucky. This Jokic thing? I mean, it's just so much of nothing. But don't get on Jokic. Watch this angle. Morris comes in first. Now, let's look at this box score, right? And let's look at... we know Jokic is the MVP of the league. And we know that players don't all get treated equally, and that MVPs need to be treated differently, and stars need to be treated differently, because if they're not, you'll bring a goon in who is treated the same as the other guy and just punch him in the head, and you can't get away with that. So they're not treated the same, and they never will be or should be. They need to be handled differently in situations like this. The Heat are getting waxed by the Nuggets, which is wild because the Heat are really good, and the Nuggets are good too. Jokic dominates triple-double. How many minutes did... First of all... No, that's Monty Morris. I thought his brother was on the other team. He's not. He's on the Clippers. Morris plays 21 minutes, but they were getting killed. And he scores 10 points. He's the... Hero's the 6th man. Dedmon's probably the 7th, but okay, I'll call Morris the 7th. He's the 7th or 8th man on the Heat, right? He's getting buried in the depth chart by PJ Tucker, and his stats on the season are 7 points per game. This is a goon play. Look. I don't even need to play it. Just look at this. It's just a check. He checks him. Bang. No reason. He didn't even try to stop or defend, whatever. And then Jokic comes back and does this.
Banging.
Guess what you deserve? That. He did to you what you did to him, and he's 7 feet tall, and you messed with the wrong guy. He didn't punch him in the head. He came back, and it was equal. So, you want to find Jokic? Okay. You want to throw him out of the game? Okay. Throw them both out, and find them both the same exact amount. And if anything, Jokic has way more reason to respond that way. So, it's funny that Tyler Hero is talking smack. And Jeremy Nichols is just like, nah. Bang.
So Morris banging Jokic.
Why are we talking about Jokic doing anything? It's Morris. If someone throws a punch at you and hits you, and you throw one back, yeah, you're going to get the suspension, but everyone should realize, who cares? You're totally good. It doesn't bother anybody. So, just, nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Shouldn't be suspended. Morris should get both suspensions. This game was awesome. Trae Young and Steph Curry. I don't know how I didn't start with Steph dropping 50. I mean, I get it. I know I start with weird stuff. You just got to work into the stream. You got to work into the YouTube videos. Stick with me, folks. We get to the good stuff eventually, I promise. We'll figure out a schedule. Steph just lights them up. Atlanta can't defend. They've had troubles this year defending in general. They've had troubles with their rotation. They've been a little banged up. People have been playing through injury. They're 4-7. I'm not that worried about Atlanta, but they do have a couple too many guys. Like, how do you get Herder, Delon Wright, Jang, Reddish, and Gallo all consistent minutes? You have like 10 guys you need to all play, and that's hard to figure out, especially when you want Trae to be the guy. So, the first half, I believe it was close between Trae and him. Trae scored most of his points in the first half. I'll go through it really quickly in the second half to see how many he scored there. He scores right away in the third quarter. So let's remove that one for argument's sake. Say with 11 minutes left in the third quarter. He scores 2 here. That's done. So no one should really talk about that comparison for a little bit. Kevin Durant is so obviously the MVP that it's ridiculous. It's really, this is the least debate you can have for an MVP. I know we're not super deep into the season. We're 10 games, but that's more than 10% of the way through the season. And he has just dominated since last year. He looked awesome in this game. I know they got smoked because they have other problems, like Harden can't score, and I still think that free throw thing is true. And if you go back to one of last week's streams or go to the highlights of the Twitch page under the videos tab, you'll see that I talk about how the fouls, the foul rule changes might have just changed some players. Harden's not getting to the line like he used to. He used to get to the line 10, 15 times a game. It's 3 now. I don't want to hear that this is just being out of shape. Something's up. He missed a lot of threes in this, so, it's different, but he's got to play different because of it. I just think there's something here, and this team has 0 depth. The Millsap, Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge trio, all power forwards, isn't going to be... they need Kyrie. They're not going to win a title without Kyrie Irving, I don't think. I'd be fucking blown away. It would be really wild. And the Bulls can score on you. The Nets just didn't score because no one but KD can score. So the fact that he's going for 38, 10, and 4, he didn't have any steals and blocks, but that's weird for him. And you watch the game, he just controlled so much of the game. They did nothing aside from him. This is with 0 help. 0. LaMarcus Aldridge occasionally getting set up by KD for a bucket. He just looks so good. I would take him at whatever the odds are. This is a week ago. Let's just see what they were a week ago. Durant plus 550. Curry, we just talked about how awesome he is, but I just think KD's better. He is better. When they were playing together, KD was better. This is from today. BetMGM today. Steph Curry plus 500. Durant, Giannis. Give me Durant, because he's going to be carrying that team who's in the spotlight the whole year. And if Kyrie comes back, they're going to be good. He's going to be better. The story's going to be big. Curry can definitely win it, but I just see Durant doing more and having to lift his team more than Curry does. So, Bulls win this game, though. Are the Bulls for real? I don't know. I don't know. I can't see them winning a playoff game. Lonzo hasn't looked great, but he's been the piece that they needed. Someone to just command the ball, be a point guard, while Levine and DeRozan do all the dirty work. DeRozan's been scoring his ass off, man. It's wild. The stuff he's doing is wild. Maybe he needed to get out of San Antonio because he was always better in Toronto. But he was good in San Antonio, but he's never scored 27 a game. This can't sustain, right? He's shooting 50% from the field, which he did do once. 53. Look at this year. Yowza. Yeah, I guess he's capable of this. He's just getting more shots. He's just taking 20, The rest of his stats, his assists are actually down because he's replacing them with shots. So that can balance out. This will go down to what his stats normally are, but he's a freak. He's really good. They got him on the cheap because no one wanted him for some odd reason. And maybe we just underrated how good he is. And when you have Vucevic in the middle, still doing everything he does, but just on fewer shots, so it doesn't look like it's 25 and 13. It's 11 and 13. Maybe this works. But Patrick Williams out for the year and being replaced by Javonte Green. If they want to go for it, they're going to make a trade. But Caruso, they have Ayo on the bench from Illinois last year, who's looked pretty solid in some of these games. So their guards are deep, really deep. Tony Bradley's a good backup center for Vucevic. He can bang at least. You just need a winger. You need something. You need some wing help, and you can always get it. if the Bulls upgrade, look out. Let's talk a little bit about Lakers Hornets. LaMelo in LA. This game was awesome. Went to overtime. It was really good. In fact, LA was up a bunch. LeBron didn't play. But LA was up so much. And then this is what impressed me. The Hornets come all the way back. They're down 11 here with 10 minutes left. They're down 14. Melo played well again. Maybe this LeBron thing, they're going to lose games, but maybe it energizes Melo to really be... He's looked good this year. He looked good last year, too. You got to watch out for him. They have problems, namely Westbrook. But if Melo gets going while LeBron's hurt, it's like, as long as you're winning games, you're all right. Bridges played unbelievable. He's so good. This Hornets team is sneaky. Like, I like to bet the Hornets every now and then because they're big underdogs, and you're like, they're going to hang around with most teams. They don't really get blown out by anybody unless LaMelo plays awful, which sometimes he does. But when he plays well, they win those games. So anyway, they're down 14 with 9 minutes left. They're down 12 with 7:45 left. They're down 11 with 7:12, and then they just chip away. Gordon Hayward makes a three. Bridges goes to the line. Westbrook hits a layup. Davis hits a dunk. You're down 11 with 5 minutes left. Gordon Hayward makes a shot. LaMelo starts to go to the line, take over. He scores 5 in a row here. Then he makes another one, 7 in a row.
Just pulling his way in is AD.
Autoplay. Yeah, he scores 7 in a row. Westbrook's trying to take over for the Lakers, and I'm starting to go, oh, well, they're gonna do this. They're gonna close the gap. And Miles Bridges makes a huge shot. LaMelo on the assist. We go to overtime, and the overtime was close. And LaMelo just looks the part. When he's right, he's right. I was just wrong about that pick. I thought he wouldn't be able to make the threes. And he just, sometimes he can. He was 3 for 8 tonight. But he's shooting them, and he's getting better at them, and he will improve. And the rest of the game looks good. I don't understand. He's very slight. I feel like in a physical game, which is getting more physical, just bump him a little bit. But they don't. So it's odd. It's odd. Maybe the league adjusts to him, but I don't think so. I think he's just going to improve, and I was just wrong. I said to draft Wiseman over him. He hasn't even played. But Bridges is really a heart and soul of this team, and people forget how good Hayward is. He's been healthy for a while. Knock on wood. I might have just mushed his whole career. Maybe he breaks his leg again. Wouldn't be shocked. And Terry Rozier, I mean, they got to get that contract off the books. If they could trade him for something else, it'd be cool. But he can fill it up, He can still play. You got some guys that can play. And your bench is pretty deep. Kelly Oubre, Cody Martin. James Bouknight hasn't even played. I think he was injured, so he's ramping up, but that's weird. Huskies, he's going to come in and fill it up eventually, and you're not super concerned about the Lakers, but Anthony Davis still can't shoot, 0 for 3. We talked about that on a previous stream, how that playoffs was a mirage when he shot well from 3, because since then he's been terrible. He shoots worse than Giannis, although Giannis has been great. Westbrook
Just pulling his way.
Doesn't seem to be working, but LeBron's not there, so you don't freak out. Melo looks great. Malik Monk he's not it. I could see all these guys. Melo will stay. Russ, you're not going to be able to move. And Davis stays and LeBron stays. Avery Bradley, DeAndre Jordan, Bazemore, Dwight Howard might stay. He's fine. He serves his role. Rondo might stay. Ellington, Monk, Reeves, and Doumbia all could be off the team by the final incarnation that we see of this team. It is college basketball time. I'm hyped. I don't want to go too crazy previewing college basketball. Champions Classic tonight at Madison Square Garden. Get some big teams playing. I will be watching. I will be excited. We will talk about it tomorrow on stream. Preseason polls don't mean so much to me except for this. Bang! UConn ranked. They don't have any guards. I don't know how the season's going to go. But they're going to be tough. Dan Hurley's the best coach, the Carpenter. He's awesome. Huskies are tough. Gonzaga, obviously, number 1. UCLA had a crazy recruiting class, and we get to see Kansas tonight. And that'll lead us to our pick for tonight. We get Kentucky Duke later. I don't want to preview these games because really, I mean, who knows? You don't know what the kids are going to do in their early games. The early season rankings are guesses. That's all they are. I watch a ton of college basketball. We're going to talk college basketball on here when there's big games. We'll talk at Super Tuesday. You know, we'll talk Saturday college basketball when we come back on Monday. Monday's streams are going to be the biggest ones, probably, I'm finding. It's probably obvious. But I'm excited for this, man. I don't like Kentucky, but UConn has whooped them. I like Duke. Before I was a UConn fan and went there, I liked Duke, but UConn has whooped them too. And the strongest of the 3 blue teams, you know? So, who knows what's going to happen here? A lot of new blood on both these sides, but Coach K's final year, you got to think he's going to have the guys ready, but he hasn't been the same coach past few years. Hot take. We'll talk more about it eventually when we see the outcome. But it's bringing us to tonight's picks. We got a 2-team parlay. We're getting pretty much even odds. We're about minus 109, I think I got. I like the Bucks tonight against the Sixers. The Sixers have nobody. They really have nobody. Embiid is not playing for a couple days. Simmons is obviously not with the team. Tobias Harris is not with the team. Matthias Thybulle is not playing. Seth Curry got banged up last night. I'm sure he will play, but on a back-to-back, he's banged up. They just have nothing. The Bucks have a few guys out as well. Brook Lopez, but, you know, Giannis could win this game by himself against a bunch of nobodies. The Knicks beat them last night. They had no one. They're playing a back-to-back. There's just no reason to drop this game for the Bucks. It feels free. And then we're going to take Kansas because I am the first person to tell you not to wager on any of these early season college basketball games. You have no idea how these freshmen are going to be. You can project, but sometimes they come in and they need a month before they even know what's going on. And you need to change lineups and you need to learn about your team. It's way too early. College basketball season, these kids are young. They're really young and they develop a lot as the season goes along. So don't put too much stock into it, and that's why I'm not going to go heavy on a preview. But I will say this, Kansas is ranked number 3, and when you have a team that's ranked number 3 against an unranked opponent on a neutral court, generally the spread is going to be more than 4.5. The reason for the 4.5-point spread is because it's Michigan State, it's Tom Izzo. That means something, but when you just look at it as fresh odds, are we ever going to get Kansas for the rest of this season, unless they're a dumpster fire, which it doesn't seem like they will be? Are we ever going to get them on a neutral site at these kind of odds? I don't think so. I'm going to take the money line to be safe because we haven't seen either of these two teams to play, but when you parlay the money line with the Bucks money line, like I said, it comes out to like minus 109, which is pretty good. So we're going to go for that. And that's pretty much a wrap. That's pretty much it. Tomorrow we'll be back. We will talk about probably some NBA takes. We'll talk about college basketball a little more. We got plenty of stuff going on. I might come up with some kind of interesting topic to dive into tomorrow. Last week on Wednesday, I think that's when we did the NBA foul thing and how Dame Lillard and James Harden are struggling. So I'm going to pick an actual topic and not just dive box scores. We'll do some of that probably, but we'll see what we can talk about. I always come up with something. And I'll babble for an hour if not. I appreciate you watching. If you are watching on Twitch, I would appreciate you subscribing and following to the YouTube channel, MikeTheMush on YouTube. The VODs go up there right afterwards as soon as possible, so if you ever miss one, you can get there. If you are watching on YouTube, I would love for you to watch on Twitch, twitch.tv/MikeTheMush. It's more fun when we can chat, talk about these things live, interact with the chat. Maybe I'll drag some people into a voice chat if they have a cool take, so we can talk about it on the air like a radio show. Follow on Twitter and Instagram at MikeMushSports. If you're into other podcasts, at The Link Podcast. I do that one. It's audio only. It's not sports. It's music, movies, TV. We cover a lot of stuff. So if you're interested, definitely check that out. And we'll be back tomorrow.